So get this. My grandmother can only pay for either me or my brother to go off to a very nice college. She only has enough for one, so obviously they're not going to pick me because my brother's the golden goose. You know, the golden egg of the family. Well, if Mom knew about what he's really up to, I don't think she would think that. So guys, I'm not going to say anything because, well, I will just pay for the college on my own. But then I learned something crazy and it made me think, maybe I should expose him. I'm 18 and I hate my parents for always choosing my younger brother. Let's call him Charles. Before you say anything, that it's not Charles's fault for being the favorite child. Well, hear me out on that one. There was a time when I was the center of their world, their pride, their firstborn son. Of course, I was the only child at the time, so my parents' attention was all on me. They bought me everything that I wanted, brought me to every park, and went on vacations with me. When Charles was born, nothing changed immediately. Everything was okay with us before, and we were treated fair by our parents. He was just a baby, after all, and I was still the one with trophies on the mantelpiece and the grades on the fridge. But as he grew, so did his brilliance, like a slow-burning candle that eventually outshone the sun. And with each of his achievements, I felt my light dim. As he shone brighter, I faded further into the background. It started subtly. A math award here, a science fair medical there. Well, Charles was racking up awards and recognition, and with each one I saw a shift in our parents' eyes. They didn't need to say it, it was their pride and it was evident. And Charles, he thrived on it, with his ego swelling at every pat on the back. My relationship with Charles was okay. I guess we have that typical sibling relationship. I mean, we do things together. We play together and we prank our parents. But the bond we shared was strained by the different treatments our parents showed us. I guess he developed a superiority complex as our parents showered him with praises and rewards and saw me there. Just there, standing behind him. It was clear who they saw as their legacy, their future, and it wasn't me. Then he started making me his mortal enemy. He wasn't content with just surpassing me, no. He seemed determined to erase any trace of my success. Friends I've made, he would win them over, and bam, he's got them laughing and hanging out with him instead. Achievements I've earned. He'd outdo them with no effort, and at every competition I joined, he was there, even if it doesn't interest him. Claiming the grand prize, and girls. Boy, don't get me started. My first girlfriend, well, she became his. My second, the same. And after a while, I just stopped trying. I mean, it was too much. Every time I lost against him, I can feel my parents just in my, trust in my capabilities, and it's slipping away. Little by little, it's slipping away. Our typical days would end with a smell of dinner and the sound of Charles's voice all chatty about his day. And I'm just there nodding along. It's like I'm invisible or something. Then at night, I would hear the muffled sounds of Charles's music through the wall, the soft strum of the guitar, and while I lay there staring at the ceiling, overthinking things, it's like those tunes are just constant reminders that he's the star, and I'm not. High school made everything intense. Charles wanted something. Our parents always made sure he got it, saying how much he deserved it, and whenever they had events with their friends, they asked Charles first if he would come. If he would, then I get to come, and I don't know. If not, they wouldn't even bother asking me. I guess with Charles missing, they don't have someone to boast about. High school was also the moment of my existence that messed my life up. See, I found Charles in the table of the cool kids, who were also the ones who you should not trust. They do unspeakable things to maintain their cool image. I mean, come on, I feel horrible, but all I was thinking was that it was the start of Charles's downfall. But oh boy, was I really, really wrong. So, let me tell you, it was the opposite. It was the start of my downfall. At first, I just saw him cutting classes. I would see him outside the window, sneaking with his so-called friends and just running away from the school. Then later that day, I would see photos and videos of their group on social media killing their lungs, vaping like it's the end of the world, but I said nothing, thinking it was his choice. I mean, who am I to stop him? But then, when I was walking on my way to our house because I missed the school bus, I saw him and his friends on the porch of one of his friends' houses, puffing out smoke from what looked like a rolled joint. When he got home, I confronted him and asked if he was doing drugs.
You know what he did? He slammed his door in my face and shouted that I should leave him alone. Of course I was worried, so I replied that he should stop before it gets dangerous and he gets caught by our parents. What he said after that made me so sad. He said that our parents would not even believe me, because he was not doing drugs and they wouldn't believe it, even if the information came out of my mouth. I mean, I do agree with him because Charles is really a brilliant kid. Even though he was doing all these stupid things, he could still get better grades than me. So why would our parents think that he was doing drugs if his performance in school was great? After that night, I thought nothing of it again. But fate has a cruel sense of irony. On a Saturday morning, Mom found Charles' hidden stash when, he was cleaning up his bedroom. So Mom confronted Charles, and at first he was speechless, standing there about to cry. And then what he did next destroyed my future. He created a story so convincing that I almost believed it myself. He said it was mine, that I planted it to tarnish his image out of jealousy. Our parents bought it without question, so I pleaded, I argued, and even offered to take a drug test, but they dismissed me. They said it's just a waste of money to do a drug test, and I'm really the one who will most likely be doing drugs anyways. Charles was incapable of wrongdoing in their eyes, and I was a jealous sibling, spiteful and vindictive. It was like I was speaking another language, and they could not understand me. It was like I was an outsider in my own house. Well, it did not end there. A week after the incident, my grandparents called. They said that they have news so important that they can't just announce it via phone call, so they'll be visiting us. And guys, do you want to know what the news is? Well, they had saved enough to fund our grandchildren's college education, but just one of us. Not both, just one. Well, I'm sure you're wondering why only one, so let me give you some context first. Mom is an only child, so me and Charles are the only grandchildren. The college fund that they had saved up can only be used by one of us, so that, the chosen one can go to a good college. If it were to be both equally divided amongst us, then neither of us could go to a good school, and both of us would have to settle for a normal one, so they had to choose. Also, it was important to choose right away at the time because it was my final year in high school, and they needed to know where to give the money. Anyways, the burden of choosing was placed on our parents, since according to our grandparents, they were the ones who truly knew us. And without hesitation, they chose Charles, and yes, I was devastated. Not just by the choice, but the realization that I've never really stood a chance. And when I think about it, I guess it wasn't just a burden for them. Of course I felt so angry, I couldn't help but lash out. I confronted them, cried the years of pent-up frustration and hurt, but nothing. I could not change their mind, and after that I was grounded for the rest of high school. The reason? They think that I can't do drugs anymore if I'm always at home, and they just hope that after graduating those kind of things would be a way of my past. That way I could learn my lesson. Because of that, I did not get to enjoy the last days of high school, while others got to go on trips to savor the last moments with their friends. I was stuck at home doing random things. I even started to learn coding out of boredom. Oh, and Charles did not miss a single day to rub what happened to my face. Now, I just got home after applying for the community college. I need to rant and vent my anger and hate towards my family. So I posted this here, and I hope no one judges me because it's hard not to feel bitter, not to wonder why things turned out the way that they did. But I guess that's just how the story goes, right? So, am I the a-hole for hating my parents and younger brother? Let me know in the comment section down below. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So we do have a few updates to hop into. I hope you're enjoying your day so far, and if you guys want more of these videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Guys, we're going to hop into the first update now, and here it is. Update number 1. Hey, it's me again. It's been a rough 6 months since I last reached out to this community, and honestly, not much has changed at home. You might even remember my post about my brother Charles and the whole college fund debacle. Well, I'm the guy whose parents chose his younger brother over him for the college fund. Anyways, life's been hard since then. My parents' unfair treatment is worse than ever now that Charles has the support and funds from my grandparents. Anyways, I've seen some of the comments on my last post, and some of you said that I might be jealous of Charles' achievements. Then I started to make up stories to make it seem like our parents are really treating me unfairly. Let me set the record straight. This is not jealousy speaking. I'm aware of Charles' capabilities, and I acknowledge that. What I want for our parents to also see is me. I want to be seen, to be acknowledged, but what they do is keep on rubbing in my face how far inferior I am to Charles, which is a horrible thing that a parent can do. Okay, enough with that. What I wanted to talk about was how I'm struggling with college right now. My parents are barely giving me enough money to buy the things I needed because guess where their salaries are going? Yep, you're right, their money are going to Charles' extracurriculars. His new clothes, his gadgets, they all come first. The money that they gave me. Well, I'm forced to ration my meals, stretching every dollar, while Charles doesn't even have to ask. He just receives it. What hurts the most is what I heard one time after school. They were having dinner without me because I went home late. I guess that they didn't hear me enter the house because I heard them talking behind my back. Charles was asking for money from my parents, but they were short, so they could not give it to him right away. Then Charles told them to get money from my allowance, and they admittedly said that my allowance could not even cover the amount of what he was asking for. So you know what Charles said? He said that I didn't deserve it anyways, and my parents just agreed with him. I mean, who does that to their own family member? What the? But I'm not sitting around feeling sorry for myself, guys. I mean, there's no point in begging and arguing with my parents when I'm 100% sure they will not prioritize me or answer my pleas. I stopped waiting for my parents to see me, to hear me, so I decided to broaden my knowledge about my degree. I'm determined to learn and to grow, to build skills that will land me a job, and I just wanted to prove and show my parents that their, other son has value, that I'm more than just the other son. So someday, they'll regret turning their back on me. Remember when I told you that I learned coding? Well, my degree is related to that so that I can say I'm already good at it. When I felt confident with my skills, I started looking for jobs. I was hoping to land a work-from-home job, something that would just let me keep studying while earning some money. Anyways, after sending out what feels like 100 job applications, I finally got a response. It was an email inviting me for an interview tomorrow. I'm not expecting miracles, but I'm, holding on to a sliver of hope that things can change, that one day my parents will see me for who I am. Not just as Charles's older brother. Well, until then, I'll keep pushing forward one step at a time. Update number 2. Hey guys, I'm back. A lot of you are asking for an update, and I'm sorry for taking too long to write one. It's more than 2 years since my last update, and a lot has happened since that, and all I can say is that life has a funny way of unfolding. And mine has taken turns I never expected. After the college fund thing, I made a vow to myself. I would not let their choices define me and affect my future. In my last update, I told you that I was contacted for an interview, and guess what? I got accepted. So I threw myself into my work and studies. And who would have thought that I would be so successful even before graduating? I landed a position at a company that saw potential in me. A potential I wasn't even sure I saw in myself at the time. They gave me a real sense of direction, and I got to learn from some of the best, smartest people in the field. They were all about making things better for the company and for me. So fast forward a few years, and I was the one doing the teaching, passing on what I'd learned to the newbies and sharing the knowledge that has been generously passed down to me. It felt good to give back like that. Now, I'm at my third company, and I'm earning a salary that's brushing up against 6 figures, a number that seemed like a fantasy just a short while ago. It's not just about the money, though. It's about the satisfaction of knowing I've earned every single cent through my hard work and talent. After finishing my second year in college, I made a move that would have seemed impossible before. I transferred to the university where Charles is studying. Not to compete with him, of course, but to finish what I started. To get that degree on my own terms, and I didn't tell anybody what I did because I wanted to tell them after I graduated that I can stand on my own 2 feet. I've been freelancing on the side, and the income from that has been more than enough to cover the tuition and living expenses. In fact, I'm making more than my parents' salaries combined. I moved out of my parents' house and into an apartment near campus. At first, they were questioning how I could afford it since I told them it was all thanks to a scholarship I got, and after that, they didn't even bat an eye. They haven't visited, they haven't called, and it's likely that I've become a ghost in their life. It stings, but it's also liberating in some sort of way. Oh, and Charles? Despite attending the same university, our paths have never crossed after attending for months. It's strange because it's supposed to be his first year here, but it's also giving me the space to grow without the constant comparison to him. So here I am, 2 years later, standing on my own 2 feet, building a life of my own, and I've learned that you don't need anybody's approval just to succeed. And the best revenge is to just, live your life. And that's exactly what I'm doing. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a part of me that still aches for my family's recognition. For them to see what I've accomplished and just be proud. Update number 3. Hey, it's me again. The guy whose parents chose his brother over him for the college fund. Well, I've got some good news. I just graduated. I received my diploma alone since I did not tell a single soul about transferring schools. And I wanted to thank all of you for hearing my rants, giving me advice and encouraging me. I'm not even sure if I would have done it without this. Anyways, I've never once bumped into my brother on campus, which struck me as odd. So I did a bit of digging last week and found out he ghosted me several months after enrolling. He's not at school anymore. This angers me a little bit because he was chosen and given the college fund and he just stopped going. A lot of questions popped into my head. Did our parents know? If not, where the hell did he use the fund and how dare he use it for things aside from school? I couldn't let it slide. All the anger I felt before it resurfaced, and all I could think was that he should be punished. So I thought I would shake things up a bit. I invited the whole family, including my grandparents, to a fancy Michelin-starred restaurant to celebrate my graduation. My treat. You should have seen their faces because they were worried about how I could afford such a place. In the middle of eating, I revealed the truth. I pulled out my diploma and everybody stopped eating and was shocked. There were so many questions like how I could afford it and how was Charles with school, especially since I graduated from the university where he was supposed to be studying. As I answered the questions, I noticed my brother squirming in his seat. Then the questions turned to Charles, and I could still remember the exact words that he said. "Are you on with this, Charles? Why did you not tell us?" Well, Charles did not even respond, so I did. Well, the funny thing is, I did not see him once ever since I transferred and graduated. So, what's the best way to know where I could find him? I asked the staff, and they told me that Charles only attended for a few months and just vanished into thin air. Everybody was shocked, of course. My grandmother, overwhelmed by the turn of events, almost passed out, while Charles he ran away. They started arguing, and I could hear voices raising as they continued to speak, while I just kept eating. So I remained calm, not minding their looks from the other tables and continuing my meal as if it were just another day. When they were calmer, I asked the question that was in everyone's mind. What would they do now that their favorite grandson had squandered their generosity? My grandparents were adamant. Charles had to make amends or face the consequences, so after dinner I stayed at our house for a few days. My parents were furious with me because of what I did, which I don't understand because all I did was tell them the truth. Anyways, Charles did not come back after the dinner, so our grandparents are getting more furious by the day because they felt like they were robbed their own family member. Every morning, I could hear them screaming at my mom asking for updates on Charles's whereabouts. Then this morning, before I went back to my apartment, I overheard the conversation again. And this time, my grandparents are not only asking where Charles was, but also demanding my parents pay for the college fund that they gave to Charles. They told my parents that they should have been held responsible, because it was their fault that they chose Charles over me. Now, as I write this update in my apartment, I can't help but feel a sense of vindication. For so long, I was the forgotten son, the other son. Now the truth has come to light, and with it, a sense of justice, yet I can't shake the question that lingers in my mind. Am I wrong for finding satisfaction in this outcome? Let me know. Update number 4. I'm sure you're wondering why I've posted an update just a week after my previous one, while my other updates took months or heck even years. Well, I have some devastating news. I forgot to mention in my last update that before I left my parents' house to return to my apartment, My parents were really desperate and asked if I could lend them money to back up my grandparents. The same money they denied me for my education, they now sought to salvage for their pride. I refused. I'm sure a lot of you were against my decision, but I think I made the right one. It was their doing, their mistake, and I wasn't about to bail them out. It's their fault, and they did this to themselves. If they weren't so proud of Charles, maybe he would still be the same brother I had when we were young, the one who did not think too highly of himself. Mom's reaction was brutal. Her words, laced with anger and disappointment, kicked me out of their home and told me to never come back. I was so hurt that I cried for what seemed like hours in the bathroom, then packed up my things and right away left. So, when I got back to my apartment, my phone was buzzing with an alarming notification that sent a chill down my spine. A huge withdrawal from 2 of my bank accounts without my knowledge. Panic, it set in. My heart was racing as I searched for my laptop and my extra phone, planning to look at the accounts using the gadgets and hoping against hope that this was just a system error. But they were nowhere to be found. So I tore through my place and I can't really find it. I was overthinking, what if I left in the taxi cab? What if somebody stole it when I was crying on the sidewalk? I was panicking. Then I decided to file a police report, and this is what they call karma? Karma for feeling good about revealing that Charles was a college dropout? But what is wrong with that? Nothing, for goodness sake. The investigation did not take long. The police officers broke the news to me. It's something that I could not have imagined. My parents were the culprits. They had taken my cards, sold my gadgets, and betrayed the trust I never really should have given them. The devices were traced through to find my device feature, leading to a pawn shop in which the owner gladly used the CCTV footage to see who the thief was. So what do? Obviously, I confront them. They were able to withdraw my cards because they knew my PIN, and I guess they still remember the number that I used since childhood, and they used it to rob me. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt and asked them why they would do that, but their justification was cold and dismissive. They told me that the money they stole was only the money that they could get from me, and I still denied it to them. They even had the audacity to tell me that they tried to ask nicely. When the police asked if I wanted to press charges against my own parents or just let it slide, I did not hesitate. I chose justice. If they didn't care about me and could easily betray me, why should I protect them? If they could so easily discard their own son over money, then they were no parents of mine. You know what hurts the most? They probably stole it when I was in the bathroom crying because of them. They were probably thinking about it as a backup plan before they asked me for money. Anyways, I don't want to know. Sometimes things are just easier when you don't know. Guys, I'm not sharing this for pity or vengeance, but to give a lesson in self-worth and the importance of standing up for yourself. Sometimes the hardest choices lead us to the most profound truth. And the truth I found is that freedom can only come from letting go of toxic ties and stepping into a life which you're in control of.